Hey everybody, this is Modern Refugee. Finishing up my coffee this morning, and going to share a recipe with you guys. One that I remember as a kid growing up that was made actually quite a bit, and it's out of Mom's handwritten cookbook here. And this particular recipe is Annie's Hungarian rice. And Annie and her husband were Hungarian immigrants that were friends to my grandparents before I was born. And Annie's rice recipe that was passed down. And this particular recipe here, they would make this on work days where they had to work outside and they couldn't stand and mind the stove all day long. So it was something that would be mixed up in the morning, and it would be cooked, and it would just sit on the stove all day, and then whenever they were hungry they could come in and they could have that. And Mom and Grandma would make this fairly often, and like I said, it would just sit on the cook stove when I was a young kid growing up. And I'm going to read the recipe here for you guys, and I'm going to put this together. I'm going to put it out on the fire pit. This particular recipe does really good over the fire pit, because you can just kind of put it off to the side and let the coals just simmer it all day long. And although I've never made it in a crock pot, I think it would work really, really well in a crock pot too. But I'm going to read this to you guys. It's 1.5 to 2 cups of tomato juice and enough water or broth to make 6 cups of liquid. So it was pretty much what you had: some tomato juice, some broth. If you didn't have broth, you used water. 2 pounds of hamburger, and the 2 pounds of hamburger, Mom would sometimes substitute for venison if I would shoot a deer. They got in here brown meat and drained the fat, but if it was venison, there wouldn't be any fat to drain. And then there's also a side note on here that said that it could be made with leftover chicken, although I remember it being made with either ground beef or venison most times. And calls for a cup of rice, a half a cup of celery, a half a cup of onion, and a half a cup of sweet pepper, and then salt and pepper to taste, and then 2 tablespoons of Hungarian paprika. And it says combine everything in a large kettle and simmer until tender, 1 to 1.5 hours. And then they have the note on the bottom, that they can use whatever broth that they have available, if they have any available. So it was basically brown your hamburger, mix everything in a pot, and then just let it simmer, is basically all that it is. And of course, you could put a modern spin on this by, throwing some cheese on the top when you're done, or you could add any herbs that you would want to add that you would have out of your garden. But that's the recipe as it's written here. But anyway, I'm going to get the Dutch oven going out on the fire pit, and I'm going to show you guys how to make this off-grid style. Anyway, you guys stick around. All right, the meat's browned good, and I've drained the fat off of it, got it back on the fire. Now we're going to add our dry and wet ingredients. That is the rice, the chopped up celery, and the chopped up onion. I didn't have any fresh pepper, so I used my dehydrated pepper with the liquid. This is dehydrated bell pepper that I reconstituted with just the liquid. We're going to throw that in too. And then here is the seasonings. I got a teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of black pepper, and 2 heaping tablespoons of good Hungarian paprika. We're going to give this a stir now, and then we're going to get our liquid in. And now our liquid for this, I'm going to use 4 cups of beef broth, and then I mixed it with 2 cups of tomato juice from our home canned tomato juice. We're going to stir this really, really good. We're going to bring it up to a boil, and we're going to get the lid on it. We're just going to let it simmer. Well, it started to boil for me, so I got the lid on it, and now we're just going to adjust the height and adjust the coals for the next hour and a half and just let it simmer to absorb most of that liquid. Well, it has been well over an hour. I raised up the Dutch oven and just let the fire die down. I did open it and stirred it through, seeing that it needed a little bit of liquid, so I added about 2 cups more of broth to it. You wouldn't necessarily have to do that if you were doing it in the house, because you can adjust your temperature in the house a lot easier than you can adjust the temperature outside over an open fire. But this is what it looks like, and the liquid has been pretty much absorbed, and the rice and all the vegetables and the meat are nice and tender. I'm actually going to turn the camera around here, do a little taste test on this for you guys, and give you guys a wrap up. All right, guys, we're going to give this a taste test. Get ourselves a little sample of it right here. Boy, does that bring back memories. We used to have this a couple times a month when I was a kid. Just the tomatoes and the ground beef and the paprika simmered like that. Little smokiness maybe from the campfire. It's just really, really good. Like I said, you can make this on the stove in the house, or you could probably even make it in a crock pot. Just raise up your pot after it's boiled and you got all the ingredients in. Just let your fire die down and just simmer it. Check it for moisture. Make sure that it doesn't need a little bit of extra liquid like I did with this particular batch here. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this recipe here from the old timers. Just something from a Hungarian immigrant that my grandparents knew. But anyway, it's Modern Refugee. Appreciate all my subscribers out there. Hope you guys got a little information, a little entertainment out of this video, and another recipe idea to add to your toolbox. Anyway, you have a good one.